Well, hey everybody, I'm John Ritlin, back with another retro review of a WWE pay-per-view that took place 20 years ago yesterday, Unforgiven 1999, aka Dodgy Finishes, the musical. Good God, all the goddamn dodgy finishes, interference, all this bullshit. It was also the last WWE pay-per-view that Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara had anything to do with. Thank fucking Christ. Not to say that 1999 wasn't a mess for WWE, but, Russo and Ed Ferrara went to WCW and did their own brand of shit there, even though WCW was spiraling out of control by that point. That's another story for another day. Now, this is pay-per-view is memorable for a couple reasons. The six-pack challenge for the WWE Championship and the infamous fucking Kennel from Hell match. Don't worry, that pile of dog shit literally will be covered here a little bit later. Now, I did review ECW Anarchy Rules 1999, that pay-per-view, just a bit ago, earlier this week, and I did shit on some aspects of it. But at least the 1999 ECW pay-per-views usually hit out of the park because they had a ton of momentum. Yes, they had some moments and some matches that maybe people didn't care for, myself included, not being the biggest ECW fan, but even I could recognize that a lot of the matches had conclusive finishes, built to some good feuds, and made the titles actually mean something. In this pay-per-view, a lot of the titles really didn't mean anything. There was just tons of goddamn bullshit that I'm going to get into here, but yeah, let's just get right into it. Undertaker was on the poster for this, or at least on the WWE Network graphic. Undertaker was nowhere to be seen because he had, I believe, it was a groin injury or a pec injury, and he also had a personal beef with Vince and took some time off, and actually wouldn't be seen until Judgment Day 2000. He was supposed to be back by WrestleMania 2000, but then he suffered another injury and needed more time off. So, starts out with the refs picketing and everything. Well, I mean, there's a weird voiceover thing with this lady that sounded like she smoked about 2 packs a day for 30 years. But then the refs are picketing because they're tired of being beat up by all the wrestlers. So we had some scab refs, mainly, retired wrestlers or semi-retired wrestlers as referees. So, whatever. Very odd epic music to, open this whole thing. It was really, really funny. We start with JR and King on commentary, and actually stick with that. Val Venus versus Steve Blackman. Steve Lombardi as the ref. It was a Steve Lombardi variety hour. And also Dr. Tom Pritchard was there. And unfortunately, Harvey Whippleman was a referee as well. Never liked Harvey Whippleman at all. So Val had Steve Blackman's sack of tools. Yes, he held on to Steve Blackman's tools. This match was okay. Steve Blackman was wanting to get his, weapons back and stuff like that. It wasn't really much. I mean, Steve Blackman focused on the back of Val Venus, but eventually, money shot, 1, 2, 3. Blackman laid out Val Venus. This match really wasn't much of anything. It was a very short match. And yeah, Blackman got his tools back, laid out Val Venus, and then this one head of security, his big beefy guy, knocked down, I don't remember the guy's name because it wasn't important, knocked down Steve Blackman, and he left in. Commentary made sure to point out there was this blonde EMT that could have been BB, but I don't think it was her. I think she was already gone from the company by this point. Or, it almost looked like the woman that played the mother for the Beaver Cleavage character. But, the whole point, they kept pointing out the blonde EMT, which shows just how much WWE thought of women by that point. We then get a lot of interviews with the various members, various guys that are going to be in the six-pack challenge, including Big Show and Michael Cole. Where's the Undertaker? Big Show's like, I don't care where the Undertaker is. He's not there. I'm here. And Mark Henry is with a woman backstage and also being interviewed by Lillian Garcia. Henry says, I know what I want. Tries to look down Lillian's shirt, and she slaps him. Pretty goddamn hard, actually. So good on Lillian. And then we get Mark Henry versus D'Lo Brown for the European Championship. Dr. Tom Pritchard is the ref, and the Best Friends explode. Not the tag team currently, but these two guys that were best friends. They actually still are friends as far as I know, but it was just a feud. This is based on D'Lo Brown being Intercontinental Champion and European Champion Hayden in the SummerSlam. Mark Henry screwed him over. Jeff Jarrett won both titles, handed the European Championship to Mark Henry, so D'Lo was going out for revenge. It wasn't bad. Mark Henry would, of course, always slow it down with grounding maneuvers. D'Lo did hit a nice dive. There was some more grounding. It seemed like Henry might get the win, but nope. In the end, frog splash, where Henry was a little bit out of position because D'Lo missed him by about that much. He caught him with about this much of his body, but whatever, 1, 2, 3. D'Lo's the new European champion. Not a bad match. It's not a great match. I think these two were better as friends than they were as rivals. I don't think the rivalry really went that good. And then Acolytes promo where they talk about taking out one team from ECW already, and they're going to face the Dudley Boys later. This is right after the infamous beatdown they gave Public Enemy. It gets interrupted suddenly. The end of this promo gets interrupted by a bunch of guys, Hardcore Holly, and a few others beating up Chaz, who, was Beaver Cleavage earlier, a gimmick that pretty much ruined his goddamn career. Thank you, Russo and Ferrara, you fucking idiots. Remember the Beaver Cleavage thing? I'm sorry if you do. But anyway, Chaz was being beaten out of the locker room because he had, at the time, abuse allegations from his girlfriend. And that's the thing. They changed the Beaver Cleavage thing from a mother. It was a take on Leave It to Beaver, by the way, where Chaz was like an adult kid and had a mother with, her tits hanging out. And I'm not knocking the woman, but that's how they promoted her. And incestual stuff was implied. And then that was dropped, and then they were boyfriend and girlfriend. And then you had abuse allegations. And what benefit did this give Chaz? Oh, wait, it didn't give him anything. That's why when some people say that Russo actually could help talent, I mean, he helped maybe that many and ruined about that many. So let's just say that much, because he didn't care about wrestling because he was a fucking idiot. And thank God he's actually out of wrestling, or at least mainstream wrestling. Anybody who gives him a job now is a goddamn idiot. But yeah, the whole thing with Chaz, that thing got ruined. And then, fucking God, the Beaver Cleavage thing still pisses me off to this day. By the way, a little cheap plug here before I continue this retro review. I may have a new series that was suggested to me by Valena WWE on Instagram and Twitter, I believe. Really, really cool. Check out her YouTube channel if you can. She suggested a rant series called Throw It in the Trash, where I might just start talking about some stuff. So I might revive some shit. It might be a takeoff of times in wrestling that pissed me off, Redux. We'll see. But Beaver Cleavage may get another mention, because that's one of the 10 things in wrestling still pisses me off. Well, one of the 20 things, because a lot of things do. It was unnecessary, and the guy may have never been more than an Intercontinental Champion, but for fuck's sake, this gimmick was something nobody could get over. Anyway, we then go to something a little bit better. We are continuing this China Jeff Jarrett feud with Miss Kitty out there, who never belonged in wrestling. She never did, and of course, Jerry Lawler married her because there was about a 30-year age difference. Jerry Lawler, the sick freak that he is, and he's back on commentary on Raw temporarily. Hooray! It's 2019. Let's bring this idiot out here. Never got the appeal of Jerry Lawler. It's one of the few things I disagree with when it comes to old school wrestling fans. But hey, I never grew up on the guy. Anyway, so for the Intercontinental Championship, Harvey Whippleman as the special guest referee. Boy, they must have had to burn that shirt after that scuzzy son of a bitch wore it. I'm really being nice on this pay-per-view review, aren't I? It was decent, actually. There was some good stuff to it. China and Jeff Jarrett actually had a pretty decent feud. This was during Jeff Jarrett's whole thing of women belong in the kitchen, which I don't know how anybody can identify with that. I would certainly never make any jokes like that. But anyway, I could just imagine the derb roll in his eyes if he watches this. But there was some good action. China was never the most expert in-ring performer, but did get better. And she was strong as hell, so I mean, that actually did help. And this feud with Jeff Jarrett, I think, really did help her. I'm kind of surprised I actually didn't just go full balls to the wall crazy and make her WWE champion, hey, now SummerSlam, because it seemed like that's where they were going, or at least at SummerSlam. I don't know why they didn't just go with that, because they were already tossing the title around a whole bunch anyway, so what would it have hurt? Honestly, what would it have hurt? Jeff Jarrett and China had a decent match here. We then get chair usage, which didn't cause a DQ. A ref bump where China got hot-shotted into Harvey Whippleman. Moolah and Mae Young. Of course, Fabulous Moolah having hogged the spotlight. Fuck the Fabulous Moolah. I'm glad she's dead. Goddamn cunt. Yeah, I'm going to say that word on here. I've tried to actually reduce how I swear. I mean, I don't get monetized anyway, but I tried to reduce how much I, swear and use that kind of language, at least that much. But guess what? Fabulous Moolah deserves it for how much she held the women's division down for so many goddamn years, because she had such a fragile ego. And she buried a lot of women unnecessarily because she was upset she was no longer in the spotlight. So yeah, I'm going to take shots at her. Mae had her own, issues and stuff like that. But at least with Mae, she was willing to take these big bumps and stuff like that, like from Bubba Ray soon after this. But anyway, they had been beaten up recently by Jeff Jarrett on SmackDown. So they came in and even hit a double suplex on him, which was pretty impressive. They beat the shit out of them. Jerry Lawler just kept making old people comments. which is kind of ironic given how old he was at the time and now how old he is. I think commentary should take some shots at him. But moving on. Here's Deborah. Deborah is upset that Jeff Jarrett kind of cast her to the side for Miss Kitty. Never cared for Deborah either. She didn't deserve to get beat up by Steve Austin. I always clarify that. She hits a guitar shot on Jeff as he's trying to go for the figure four. China covers 1, 2, 3. China wins the Intercontinental Championship until Tom Pritchard runs out and says, wait, no, look at this replay. They only use the replay here and there, and they use it to show that China, not China, but that Deborah hit, Jeff Jarrett with the guitar. Oh, wait, no, reverse decision. Why didn't they DQ Jeff Jarrett for hotshotting China into the ref? Why'd they just do that? So, yeah, no title switch. It would happen in No Mercy 1999, a month later, and I will be reviewing that one because I think that's kind of an important pay-per-view to talk about, especially considering China was the first woman to win the Intercontinental Championship. And then, we get, we get that. We then get the Dudleys and the Acolytes, and we get the Dudleys cutting a promo, Bubba Ray with his stutter and everything. That freaking stutter explains his booking because it's stop-start and it's bullshit in Ring of Honor. And and of course, he had to get his girlfriend, Velvet Sky, a job because she couldn't get a job anywhere else because she's clueless in the ring. But enough shots about that, basically, brawl. And a lot of old jokes from Lawler about, Moolah and May as they were getting, taken out right as the entrance for the Dudley was happening. And it was sloppy, though. It wasn't very good. I mean, what do you expect? It was two brawling tag teams, and the Dudleys had just come on the scene in WWE. They had just left ECW recently. For not just even bigger money, but they just wanted more opportunities and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of story and stuff like that. But anyway, Stevie Richards ends up helping the Dudleys win, or not the Dudleys, but the Acolytes, as he was dressed up as a member of the Acolytes, hits Stevie kick, and, the Acolytes win, then they beat down Stevie Richards, and Farouk shakes his hand and stuff like that. Well, Ron Simmons, and there we go. So we then get to a match that, at least while it was short, at least it was something different. And while I'm not a fan of hardcore stuff, you had Luna Vachon versus Ivory, a hardcore match for the Women's Championship. Hey, it was short and sweet, but at least it was two women that were talented that should have been used a lot better than they were. And this was during the fallout where Ivory had to take up the mantle of being champion and bringing credibility back to a championship when Sable, the dumb, stupid cunt that she is, decided to drag it down because she didn't want to get hurt. She didn't want, she didn't want her little back to get hurt or her knees to get hurt, which is probably how she stayed employed so goddamn long. And I know that's a bit harsh, but tell me how somebody with that little bit of talent is actually able to be on TV as anything other than eye candy. She just wanted to do it to get a free ride to Playboy and be on TV and be famous and get money. Her and Brock are happy? Great. She never belonged in wrestling. So, Harvey Whippleman, again, as the referee. Must have had to have sandblasted, their bodies afterwards because Harvey Whippleman emits more of a dirt pile than Pigpen from Peanuts. So, there was a copier being used. That was kind of fun because it was all backstage. There was a garage door, garbage can. There was this one point where Luna Vachon dives off a short forklift onto some boxes for two. Tori, not Tori Wilson, but Tori, the Sable Stalker, ends up interfering, hitting Luna, and then you get like some kind of stick used by Ivory. She covers. I think this was Luna's last appearance on pay-per-view for WWE, or at least one of the last appearances, because I don't remember her being with the company by 2000. And if she was, I apologize for forgetting that, but it's like they were marginalizing her so much by this point, which was sad given how tough she was. It's unfortunate she did pass away, but hey, at least the women got to do something different. And it was, it was obviously, some crazy hardcore stuff that maybe I don't care for, but at least it was different. This review is going a little bit long, so here we go. Edge and Christian, by the way, before that, Lillian's interviewing Moolah and May, and then Ivory just runs into the scene. They start brawling. This is going to lead to Moolah beating Ivory at No Mercy 1999. I'm suddenly less enthused about watching that pay-per-view. The reason I'm doing some more retro reviews, by the way, is people love the retro review content, but also I'm burned out on some of the current product, so I want to watch some of this stuff. And also, I'm kind of easing back on the New Japan content in October, so this is going to keep up the views. Anyway, Edge and Christian versus the New Age Outlaws, who had just recently be reunited and become champions. By the way, Billy Gunn, 3 months removed, or about 3.5 months removed from being crowned King of the Ring. And he's already back in the tag team. Billy Gunn is easily one of the worst King of the Ring winners of all time. Not even because of talent. They didn't do anything with him. He was in a Kiss My Ass match with The Rock. That's easy for me to say. At SummerSlam 99. The match was fine. It was okay. There were 3 talents, and also Road Dogg was in the ring. Road Dogg was good on promos. Ish. Wasn't that good in the ring. Of all the Armstrongs, he was probably the worst worker. But he was most famous besides Bullet Bob. It was and the action was okay. The Hardys and Gangrel interfere, and they attack Christian on the outside. Edge gets pinned after the famouser 1, 2, 3. So yeah, the New Age Outlaws. And by the way, DX would, after splitting up, would be reuniting slowly by the end of this. And then by the end of the night, would make sure that they reunited. And folks, I'm going to take a break and be right back. All right, folks. Sorry for that short break. Just had to take care of something. Now we are back. And oh boy, Al Snow versus the Big Boss Man, Keno from Hell for the hardcore title. So, you have the old blue steel cage that they had that was hard as hell. You have a Hell in a Cell over that. And in between the cage, the ring, and the cell, guess what you have? You have people marching down with Rottweilers and other dogs and everything that are shitting and pissing and scared because they're in front of about 13,000 fucking people. You know what's ridiculous about this? Here's what's ridiculous about this. The fact that they thought that this was going to work. I don't know who came up with this match idea, but they're a goddamn idiot. If it was Russo and Ferrara, they should have been banned from wrestling before, but they should have been banned after this. And if it was one of the wrestlers that came up with this, I mean, they should have been literally, kicked out of the company. One of the worst goddamn matches ever. And look, the whole basis of this was Big Boss Man stole Al Snow's little dog Pepper, that was his muse, and cooked him and fed it to him. This was an angle and a match that actually took place on a wrestling program, a major wrestling program. And I can't believe it. I can't fucking believe it. I've watched this match before and thought, okay, I can get some entertainment out of it. It's just so goddamn bad. And the crowd was shitting all over it. Not as much as the dogs shitting all over everything, but they were shitting over a whole lot of this. This match was atrocious. And I mean, you could even tell Big Boss Man didn't want to be part of it. I even think he was out of the company for a bit. Well, no, he was still with the company, but I think he took maybe a little bit of time off because he probably had to get the stink of this off. He did, of course, he was part of the Big Show, Dad's Casket thing. That might be something I actually have to cover at some point. But yes, we got a match with dogs shitting and pissing around the ring because they were terrified and barking at each other. They were mostly barking, at each other instead of focusing on the ring because they're dogs and you can't tell dogs what to do because they're animals and they have a mind of their own. And also, yeah, they probably don't handle crowds that well. But anyway, the crowd hated it. Al was bleeding. Big Boss Man was bleeding. There was powder. There was weapons. There was a bunch of goddamn bullshit. Boss Man cut away the Hell in a Cell ceiling because he wanted to make sure that he stopped any repeat of the Mania 15 Hell in a Cell hanging. You remember that? They had the Boss Man hanging from an apparatus, so he actually wasn't hanging. But yep, they did that. That was actually another thing that took place in 1999. And holy crap, the more I think about it, the more heated I get with this goddamn bullshit taking place. This match, sweet Christ, I don't know how anybody thought that this was a good idea. One of the worst goddamn matches ever. Period. This actually was probably worse than any Great Khali match, which is saying something. Because at least Great Khali, you could tell, was kind of trying, even though he wasn't very good. But this was something that took place during the hot period of WWE, and sweet Christ, fucking hell, terrible. One of the worst things ever. One of the worst goddamn things ever. Big Boss Man finally got onto the top of the cell through there. Al Snow broke these handcuffs that he was handcuffed to the ring rope with, and then went through the door, managed to escape over the cage through the door quickly before the dogs got to him, even though the dogs had handlers and they were holding them on leashes and everything. And then Boss Man actually crawled back down and then got through the set and then got, over the cage through the cell, after realizing that he didn't want to climb down the cage wall, and then got through and left. And sweet, oh God, oh, fucking hell, I almost should have taken a break after this match. This match will take years off your life if you watch it. You almost have to watch it to see just how bad it is. Oh, boy. It's still not as bad as anything in Saudi Arabia, because at least this was just a figurative murder and not actually based on a literal murder. Anyway, I digress. This was bad. So bad. Good Lord. Please never do this match again. I think Mick Foley on his Hard Knocks Cheap Pops DVD, actually him and Kevin Kelly dubbed over the commentary and actually just made fun of this match, and that was actually better than the actual match. And it's not that Al and Big Boss Man aren't talented performers. Well, Boss Man was. I mean, unfortunately, he did pass away. It's not that they weren't talented performers. Nobody could have gotten anything out of this match. And the fact that this was considered something they wanted to put on pay-per-view, fucking hell. So we then get Chris Jericho with Mr. Hughes, very slimmed down by this point, versus X-Pac. Shamrock's supposed to face Jericho, but he got injured. This was the way to write Shamrock off of TV, since I think he left the company shortly after this. Or right before this. Dr. Tom Pritchard as the ref, well, at least made up for the last match. But the crowd, at some point, I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know what the fans were distracted by. I tried to pay attention to everything on this pay-per-view, and I don't know if I missed something. I don't know if they edited something out, but the fans were like focusing on something else in the crowd. Maybe fans were having a fight or something like that, or fans were being kicked out, or a beach ball or something. I don't know. But the fans were mostly distracted during this, and then they were chanting X-Pac sucks and stuff like that. So it was Jericho and X-Pac basically having to fight against the crowd, having a decent match. These two actually had pretty good chemistry, but the crowd just didn't give a shit. And I don't know what the deal was. It was a DQ finish, by the way. Mr. Hughes and Jericho attacking X-Pac. That led to a DQ win for X-Pac. Road Dogg runs down to attack Jericho and also to help X-Pac. So the reforming of DX, after they were just feuding a bit ago, X-Pac and Road Dogg were feuding against, I think, Billy Gunn and China, if I recall correctly. This was not good. This was not good at all. The match actually was fine, but again, DQ, dodgy finish, absolute shit. And then we get to the six-pack challenge. Thank fucking Christ we're at the end of this pay-per-view. British Bulldog, Kane, The Big Show, The Rock, Mankind, Triple H, Stone Cold Steve Austin as a special enforcer. He's outside on commentary for most of the time because you have Jimmy Corneris, I think, was the referee. He was there as the ref. Or I think it was him. They kept referencing the name, and I totally forgot because probably I got, massive anger issues from watching most of this pay-per-view. But again, six-pack challenge. Okay, vacant titles is right. This is a couple weeks after Vince McMahon had won the championship on a SmackDown. I did not do retro reviews of that because I want to be honest. I was going to do retro reviews of Raw, Nitro, SmackDown, Thunder from summer of '99 all the way to the end. I don't got the time, guys. I'll do occasional ones here and there, but I don't have the time. Maybe one of these days when I run out of pay-per-views to retro review, or at least run down on that, I might actually just sit down and do a month's worth of shows and just review those every single week, but we'll see. Anyway, huge props for The Rock and Austin. Everybody takes turns, because it's two men in the ring. You got to tag people to get them in the ring. It wasn't that bad. It was actually a pretty well put together match. Everybody had, had been intermingling with each other. Rock and Mankind had this unlikely alliance until near the end when Mankind tried to screw him over because he wanted to win the title. Bulldog and Triple H had this uneasy alliance. I think at one point Triple H, or no, it was JR saying about Triple H. I wonder if there's collusion between the British Bulldog and Triple H, which caused Trump to say no collusion. It's 1999. Why are you here commenting that? So anyway, this match. Yeah, it had a big fight feel. It was actually pretty good. It was. I mean, yeah, it was messy. They went outside quite a bit. All the striking referees came down to yell at Jimmy. Everybody gets in. The referee gets pulled out at one point, and they start beating the shit out of him. Austin wants to see a finish here, and he gets a title shot against the person late, after this, which would end up being Triple H. So he punches out the referees. Of course, punches Teddy Long first. Of course, the southern redneck has to keep the black man down once again. And then I always throw those jokes in there. Beats up everybody. And then, eventually gets in the ring. At one point, I think Big Show pulls out Austin just as he's about to make a count. He low blows Big Show. We get a chair shot from Bulldog to Rock. And then we get a headshot on the Bulldog from Stone Cold Steve Austin. Pedigree from Triple H to Rock. 1, 2, 3. And that's it. Triple H is a new WWE champion. And then in typical Stone Cold fashion, putting somebody over by stunning them right after and then closing the show, celebrating it. And 20 years later, it's like nothing has changed. I don't grade retro reviews, but once again, Anarchy rules at least. had conclusive finishes and stuff like that, even not being the biggest ECW fan. At least most of their matches had conclusive finishes. At least the big matches. This one, still, tons of interference, tons of bullshit. Dodgy City finish, bitch. It's like, or dodgy finish city, bitch. Hi, I can talk. This just, this pay-per-view, it didn't break me. Still, I gotta wait for 1999 WCW, especially Halloween Havoc and everything. Oh, don't worry. 89, 94, 99. I'll cover those pay-per-views. But anyway, agree, disagree with what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.